helping people become life ready.
How many of you came here because you're looking for a job?
That's the mission of the Urban League of Greater Southwest Ohio.
On this episode of Let's Talk Cincy, we look at the organization's efforts to increase employment and earnings potential.
We do want to go into this emerging market for high-skilled labor and African Americans as well.
But with many jobs going unfilled, we ask how the organization is bridging the skills gap, why it is harder to fill these jobs, and the new leadership ready to shift people from jobs into careers.
This summer helped me set up for my future.
Plus, giving our youth opportunity through learning, how the Urban League is putting teens on a path to success before graduating high school.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy.
Today we are getting a picture of the changing labor market through the Urban League of Southwestern Ohio. Welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. I'm Curtis Fuller.
And I'm Alexis Rogers. America is facing an unprecedented skilled labor shortage. According to the Department of Labor, U.S. employers added 225,000 jobs in January of this year, with 5,800 unemployed or looking for work. The improved economy has drawn in people who were not previously job hunting.
But according to a monthly survey by the National Federation of Independent Business, finding qualified workers was the top challenge of small business owners in December.
It may also be easier to get a job than a raise. In 2019, wages grew just 2.9%, and that's below more than 3% average in 2018. These challenges are tackled daily by organizations like the Urban League.
It's founded as a community partner and problem solver. Richards Industries has been in business for 70 years.
In a typical manufacturing facility, a starting wage is going to be not less than $15 an hour, and they're going to build up from there.
The skills needed must be developed over time. Bruce Brocksterman says it's difficult to find and keep good workers, even in a good economy.
We have a real challenge in the country of filling jobs on the manufacturing side of the economy with machinists, general assemblers, general metal workers in particular.
That is where the Urban League comes in. The organization has been serving this community since 1949.
We tell them that we're about financial empowerment and self-empowerment. Basically, that's what we do. We're known for workforce development, but we also have an entrepreneurial arm. You know, when we think about any subgroup or subpopulation, how they move forward is through economics, through financial empowerment. And that's essentially what we do and what we focus on.
It serves people from Dayton to Northern Kentucky and everywhere in between. The organization has come a long way since its first leader, Joseph Hall. He was the visionary who saw the need for a local urban league. One of the group's most prized accomplishments is republishing the State of Black Cincinnati after the original findings 20 years ago. The Urban League says it continues to answer the charge by the Economic Community Change Initiative, its Social Innovation Center, and its 2020 strategic plan to deliver and change disparities in the African American community.
And we want to be that honest broker at the Urban League to make sure that we are guiding those folks to the right opportunities. I think you have to build a vibrant middle class if you really want to transform neighborhoods.
For 7 decades and beyond, Urban League is focused on being intentional in helping the community prosper and move forward. And you know, Greater Cincinnati's Urban League also has a new CEO at the helm.
And let me tell you, he has plans to take on new programs and make changes in the neighborhoods that they serve. It hasn't been long.
Oh, about 120 days so far. It's been fantastic. You know, my wife came to move to Cincinnati during Blink, so that was pretty cool. You know, our folks have been just really welcoming, so we've really enjoyed our time here so far.
For the newly hired president of the Urban League of Southwest Ohio, Eddie Cohen, he's excited to make his mark.
So I started out working at Equal Justice Initiative, and from there I went to work for the city of Birmingham. When I moved to Denver, I ran a few nonprofits, and from there I went back to the government. I worked for the Denver Public Schools District, and my most recent job before I came here was working at the United Way as their Chief Impact Officer.
With new programs and a new CEO and president, Urban League is entering into a new era.
Really to be the premier nonprofit that focuses solely on African Americans. We look at any type of data or indices that you can think of, and we're either at the bottom or close to the bottom, right? And how awesome is it to run a nonprofit where you're solely focused on the African American community?
How many people work here?
We have about a little over 60 staff between this office and our Dayton office.
From introductory training programs to special skills programs, Urban League takes pride in being housed in the heart of Avondale, serving as a hub of change in their own backyard.
We add value by, one, we are proximate to the folks who are in need. What's so special about this place is that the people who work here, they are from the community.
Goen says Urban League is moving towards placing people for jobs of the future.
We do want to go into this emerging market for high-skilled labor and African Americans as well, and that's going to be an entirely different build-out. The Urban League, or no other nonprofit for that matter, is really known for that, so I'm really excited about that as well. I think that most programs in the nonprofit sector, unfortunately, focus on that $7 to $12 range, and we are trying to shift to say, what are those $20 and above jobs, right? Whether that's IT, whether that is pipe fitting, et cetera. And really, so folks won't have to worry about the cliff effect and saying, when I make $15 an hour, that I'm going to lose my benefits. Is how do you prepare them for the growth industry so they can continually grow their salaries and really have a stable path into the middle class? So we really want to move towards high-skilled jobs, folks who are in accounting, finance, business, because there are a lot of talented African Americans in this city who may not have as much social capital, but definitely has the skill. One of the programs that's most underutilized is Career Insights. Career Insights is a program, a partnership with Children's Hospital, where we have taken Children's Hospital's values, some of their vocabulary, and we take cohorts of students and take them through a 6-week program. After they finish the 6 weeks program, the VP of HR is there and handing them, here's your interview next week. So not just training, but really saying, here's your shot at it. And that's really what we're trying to shift to, is actually tighter and deeper partnerships. So when folks actually go through the training, that they have a guaranteed interview afterwards.
There are so many new things that will be happening, and you and I both have spent many times at the Urban League.
Oh, absolutely.
It's utilized so much in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, and the new leadership is strong and very focused on the future, and that's good, that's good.
Helping people to soar, the program designed to teach students to get, keep, and develop a career.
Next on Let's Talk Cincy, how the program has changed with the needs of the economy and where leaders want to take it in the future.
Something as simple as how to shake hands with an employer is something I thought I knew. I didn't know until I came to the SOAR program. How to interview well, how to keep simple eye contact. I wanted to change my life. You know, when I said I wanted to change my life, I had already hit rock bottom, and I really have a passion for the people to where you don't have to necessarily hit rock bottom in order to make that change.
Well, one of the Urban League's flagship job development programs is called SOAR. Solid Opportunities for Advancement and Retention. And we are here talking with Torrance Jones. Welcome, Torrance. And you are recruitment coordinator for SOAR, also a graduate of SOAR.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, welcome. Well, let's talk about your experience, how you got involved with SOAR before you started working for SOAR.
Well, I'm actually a 2012 graduate of the SOAR program. During that time, I had just recently graduated from Cincinnati State with my associate's degree in sociology. And a next door neighbor of mine explained to me that the perfect place for you to go to learn about how to go about obtaining employment is the SOAR program at the Urban League.
That's fantastic. So, so what kinds of criteria are there for SOAR?
Well, for me, it was, I just needed to, you have to be 18 and older. Pretty much for the SOAR program, strategically they target individuals that possibly come with kind of a few things on their background, tumultuous things on their background, and I am an individual that has felonies on his background, and so it was perfect for me to gain the soft skills necessary to understand employer expectation, on-the-job communication, conflict resolution, resume skill building, as well as interviewing technique.
That's a lot. So, and just going back to that, so you can be unemployed or underemployed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can have things on your background or not, but it's for people trying to advance.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned some of those components. Let's talk about those again.
Well, employer expectation pretty much explained to me exactly what it is that the employer will expect out of a quality candidate. And the biggest piece that you would expect out of a quality candidate is how to maintain a high level of retention, to show up, show out, and show off and do your job every single day.
And you know, some people might say, well, that's just kind of obvious, but it's not, because a lot of people have trouble keeping that job once they get it, right?
Absolutely. Nowadays, it takes a job to get a job. You have a lot of individuals that have been out of the job market. You have a lot of individuals that actually don't understand what on-the-job communication means. And the SOAR program teaches individuals exactly that.
So not just getting that job, but also holding on to it. And your success rate is high. I understand 82% of SOAR participants graduate from the program, and almost 70% end up getting employed. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the average wage that an individual makes is anywhere about roughly $14.42 an hour.
Okay, so way above minimum.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So how do people contact the SOAR program to get started?
So we're located at 3458 Reading Road, phone number 513-281-9955.
And tell us that number again. You said that so fast, Torrance.
I'm sorry, 513.
I can tell you've said that a lot.
Yes, we have to sell the opportunity to the people. 513-281-9955.
Okay, so people can call, and the program is ongoing, or is there a certain time period?
Well, there's an information session that you first must go through so we can identify and see exactly what program that we should enter you into. And information sessions are on Tuesdays at 5:30, Wednesdays at 2 o'clock, as well as Fridays at 9 a.m.
Every week?
Every week.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So people can learn how to soar and get that right job, keep that job.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much, Torrance. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Alexis and Curtis.
Well, that's a lot of good information.
It is a lot of good information.
All right, new leadership at the Urban League, helping the organization reach its goal.
What they have planned for programs helping the next generation of workers when Let's Talk Cincy returns. Hi there, and welcome back to Let's Talk Cincy. We are going to go in deep with the new leaders of the Urban League.
We are joined now by the president and CEO, Eddie Cohen. You saw him earlier in the story that we did. And Gina Goins, she is the Senior Vice President of Development and Communications. First of all, welcome to the program. An exciting time at the Urban League now.
Thank you for having us.
Expand on what you were saying, that some of the goals that you have.
Sure. Well, traditionally we've been known for our workforce development program. We're really trying to evolve what we do and to expand to the full suite of services, from if you need a job and you have an emergency where you need income immediately, to those who are a little more high skill, who want jobs in marketing, accounting, finance, to that new startup, that entrepreneur who needs investment capital to grow their business, being a one-stop shop for folks in the community.
When it comes to what the future looks like, because times have changed, and so a lot of what we needed to get trained maybe even 5 years ago is not the same as today. Let's talk about what's changed and what direction it's going towards.
Sure. I would say two of the emerging industries in the greater Cincinnati area is advanced manufacturing and IT. Right, but even the nature, we talked about our SOAR program, that's even changed. We have to train folks on being technologically savvy in the workplace, on team building, on what does it mean to workforce life integration, where you don't necessarily just clock out at 8 to 4. The work goes on after the workplace. So evolving into these new standards of what it means to be a productive worker and to move up in your career as well.
Gina, I would think, and Alexis alluded to this, in terms of where the Urban League was and where it is and where it's going, is sharing some of that history. I mean, we included the information about Joe Hall, but all the leadership that brought us to this point, even the new building. I mean, that took vision to build that building on Reading Road in Avondale.
That's right, and we're so glad that we can be a home to service all of our needs, that we have spaces now that we can service the technology piece that Eddie discussed, but we also have a lot of other spaces that we can do team building and work on other kinds of skills. So they move around the building and get to know us as staff as well, but also get to really enhance their skills in different areas.
Let's talk about holding folks accountable, especially with a lot of these big projects that are coming into the city. I mean, right down the street from where you all are, you got hotels that are going to be popping up all day. I mean, very soon. So what are you all doing to keep people accountable to make sure that they're hiring from different neighborhoods that really need it?
Absolutely. There's an actual group of folks with in partners with Web Ventures. We know that there are several hotels and jobs that are right there. So we meet once a week, every Tuesday, to talk about what is it going to take to prepare folks in Avondale for those jobs and other construction sites around the city. We want to be, when people think about talent that is reliable, that is high skill, we want them to think about the Urban League. I talked a little bit about career insights, but even other industries of not just generalized training, but what are the specific skill sets that you need for constructions, the competencies that we look for. And think about this, we've been around for 70 years. We have touched over 1 million African Americans, so we have a lot of qualitative data about what works and what doesn't work. So we're just really excited in this evolution. I think it's a good time that the region is growing to bring on new leadership like Gina and to really capture the knowledge and the wisdom for folks like Torrance who've been here a while. So it's an awesome time to be at the Urban League, for sure.
You mentioned 70 years, but branding is always key because, you figure like this television station, we've been around that long as well, but we're constantly focused on branding, introducing ourselves to the community. I would say that's probably a challenge too, because you want to say, people should know us. But there are a lot of people who don't.
Sure.
They don't, and that's going to be my job. That's where I'm coming in and really introducing, getting social media attention. We just talked about a strategy today about posting every day, really getting us visible, really getting out there, because that's how the generation now is learning about what we do. And so we are really concentrating our marketing efforts on becoming brand savvy and also getting that word out about all the services that we provide.
Yeah, and thanks for that. I mean, I have 3 kids. I have a 21-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-month-old.
That is a busy household.
That is a busy household. And my 21-year-old is like, what is the Urban League, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And we know that this is the most marketed to generation, so how do we create compelling content? We have a lot of activity and successful things that we do, but we hired a 26-year-old marketing and developing guy who can do video content, print, the whole gamut of help us break through the noise and really let folks know our value proposition.
Speaking of value, real quick before we let you go, let's talk about STEAM, because STEAM is an amazing program.
Yes. So we work with Woodward. We are the community convener at that high school. When we talk about STEAM, the interesting fact is when you think about immigrants that come to this country, actually African immigrants have more STEAM jobs and major in more STEAM majors than anyone else, right? When we think about arts and just technology of what's growing in this region, we know it's very important to expose folks to math, to science, to arts. So education, where it's not typically what we've known for, we're really trying to inject our policy voice to make sure that those opportunities are available for folks in Avondale and for kids that are most underserved.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. So much to learn.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's always going. Thank you all. Well, next on Let's Talk Cincy, honoring the community change makers who live among us.
We're introducing you to the Lions, honored at the Urban League Luncheon.
Glorifying lions, that's the term that the Urban League has given to people making an impact in our community.
In a video produced by the Urban League, they were able to describe their greatest achievements while also being honored at the organization's annual luncheon.
Very proud that with some of the outreach things that we've been engaged in. There was a program years ago called Wings of Hope, and that program had to do with persons who were addicted and strung out on drugs, and an opportunity to reach out to them. But also, we would go out at midnight and walk the streets of Avondale and found there were a lot of people that were out at night and running the streets, including young children whose parents were not home. And that was impactful because we were able to feed people, refer them to agencies for shelter and those kind of things.
Sigma Pi Phi and Kappa Alpha Psi, we brought the National Youth Foundation to Cincinnati. National Youth Foundation is a group out of Philadelphia that write books for kids. And because of those workshops, these youngsters wrote, illustrated, published books. And they wrote the book on bullying, Misunderstood Micah, which won a prize in the National Book Contest. And then this extended even further, and they wrote a book on Marion Spencer, Darkness into the Light.
6 years ago, I started the first Spirit of America Awards Dinner, which honors Marion and Donald Spencer for all of the civil rights wonderful accomplishments that they had, but it also honors local nonprofits and for-profit who exhibit conspicuous contributions to inclusion and diversity in our city. I was involved on the committee to plan her tribute, and a lot of us talked about the fact that we want to do something to carry on her legacy more than having a building named after her. We just wanted to do something else, and we thought about a statue. We will be erecting that statue.
I was fortunate enough to be awarded a People's Liberty Grant, and with that particular grant I was able to implement a program that I proposed called Loads of Love Life Skills Through Laundry. And the history of laundry in this country is that wherever people gather to do laundry, it creates community. When you have community, you can share things, you know, anything from parenting experience to how to have a happy marriage to recipes. So with Loads of Love, we go into a laundromat. It takes 30 minutes to wash, 30 minutes to dry, and in those 30-minute segments, we take a topic, we give you some skill sets, and then as soon as you walk out the door, before you even walk out the door, you can apply what we just taught you.
Amazing, amazing folks out there. Very awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, to learn more about the Urban League of Southwestern Ohio, its programs, or how to get involved, go to the organization's website. That is ulgso.org. We showed the clips of the honorees. You hosted that. It was a great event. I don't know how many people were there.
Hundreds.
At least 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an amazing turnout, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We like to have fun. We got to get to work. You see all the things that people have been doing. My goodness.
That's true.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this edition of Let's Talk Cincy. And of course, we want to hear from you.
Absolutely. You can email us any of your ideas at ltc@WLWT.com. You can also see full episodes and stories from Let's Talk Cincy by going to the menu tab of WLWT.com. And you know what? All you have to do is click on Let's Talk Cincy.
We'll see you next week for another Let's Talk Cincy. Stay encouraged.